Okay, we're recording. Hey, Tiff.
Hey, Yolanda.
How was your week, honey? I
My
want to
week.
start there. Yeah.
Okay, my week was super intense. I did a 50-hour yoga teacher training in 1 week. So it was 5 days, which equals out to 10 hours a day. So it was first thing in the morning till the last thing I did at night because I would just go home and sleep after that.
Yeah.
Um, and it was intensive on a lot of levels. I don't even think I've processed the whole thing yet.
That's how I did my yoga teacher training. It is intense. And then we had like a break and then we had to go back and do the same like that.
Yeah. I like it though. I'm into the immersion thing. Really immersing yourself into something and then, seeing how it filters through your body, your life, all of it.
Well, I have to say before you tell me more about it, you do look like you're glowing today. Like you look really good.
That's because of my ring light.
Oh, no, but you do. Like you really look.
Thank you.
You look good.
Yeah. And also this week was super intense because I've been going through this wave of a nasty upper respiratory infection, which has been super cool. So if I have a coughing attack or lose my lassenger out of my mouth, that's I'll be fine.
Okay.
And I apologize, but
fair warning.
Yeah, fair warning. That was really interesting through the course of this 5-day intensive that I was doing, which is I got a really great opportunity of things to talk about for our topic today. So that's
great. Always exciting.
Yeah.
So how did you feel, this week? Crap. Well, it was interesting kind of thinking of stuff to post because with you being gone, because like people probably don't know we share the load. Like we both post things. We both, we're very
symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, it's been lovely. So yeah, having you gone for the week, I was like, oh no, this is a lot. But aside from that, we just had the new moon yesterday.
Yes.
And honey, like I had a tarot reading done for me the day before the new moon. And then it was like yesterday, just everything. I was like, change, new. Like, I feel like this spark of newness. And I'm like, oh, it's a lot, like just this rush and this surge of so much change that's happening right now.
I feel it too. I got to really, and I mean, of course I could attribute it to the teacher training, and it's a type of yoga that I did a 200-hour in, or it was probably even more actually. And this was kind of a refresher course. And I know it motivated and inspired me more, but it wasn't even just that though. There was something different too, where this new energy started surging and I can feel the change coming.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It feels positive, and I can't wait to see what it is, but it feels like this whole new energy.
Totally new. And it's funny you say, because right before we came on this, I literally just booked to get my hair cut, and it's going to be like a drastic haircut. And I was laughing at myself because, they say like women, whenever we're going through like a big change, we may do something drastic like a haircut. And I was like, yep, it's right along with this, whatever's going on in my space. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited about like you being back. I'm excited about the topic that we're doing today because it's one of my favorites.
Me too.
Drum roll. Why don't you tell them what we're talking about this week?
This week we're talking about being in body.
Yes.
Do you want to share with us what your definition of that is?
Yeah, I guess one of the first things, because I think for some people, especially like those of us who are a little more cynical at times, is like, duh, I'm in body, I'm alive. But it's really about that aspect of having, like being consciously aware of being in your body, but also being like fully present and engaged with your life and in being in body, because a lot of times we're functioning from autopilot. We're not paying attention to anything. Just like on the most basic level, I think of the example of how we drive from, say, home to work, and then one day you notice a house that's always been there, and you're like, God, I never noticed that before. Yeah, because we're usually not here. We're not fully present or fully engaged with a lot of things half the time. But in terms of in this realm, I think it's such a big, important topic as well, because it speaks a lot to how we manage our energy, how we manage our minds. All of these things start with us rooting and grounding into being here.
Yeah.
What about you, love?
For me, I think it's really about actually being in your body and understanding its intrinsic wisdom that it has to tell you to process, to work with it, like work with your physical body, not even just like keeping it healthy or working out, but working with it because our brains and our mind are bringing information and assimilating them and stuff, but our body's doing it too. Our physical body does it on such a subtle level that we might not even, we take it for granted, I think, and
Right.
until our body starts really speaking to us, we can almost misconstrue what it's talking about.
Yeah.
How do I know? Because I am guilty of it like every other second of the day.
Well, I really like the term that Joe, the one who came to our live event last week, I really like that somewhere in that conversation it came up about the technology of, I think we're talking about the technology of the mind, but even thinking about that, the technology of our bodies, I think a lot of times we don't recognize like how complex and amazing this system is. Like you said, like it's not just this vehicle to just walk around in. Like we literally are able to engage and experience the material realm because of the sensory that we have. That's part of this physical vessel. But this physical vessel also gives us that ability to have that awareness of what is non-physical, like tuning into our intuition and, our chakra system. Like all of this stuff is designed and part of this physical thing. So your body is amazing.
I think our intuition and our physical body play such a role together that we dissociate, or we're taught to disassociate it, or not think that they're one and the same. But I actually think that one of the best ways to get into our intuition is to get into our body.
Oh my God.
Start really understanding your physical body. So, because even just the little lessons that we learn, like, why do I crave this food? Like start educating yourself on why I have a craving for something, understand what's happening in your body. And then, you start to understand why it leads you places. And then you start to trust your intuition, because you think intuition is just this separate thing. No, your body is craving something that it needs. It's giving you information. And it's, that's like an easy exercise to start learning intuition, because then your intuition, when you get those really deep messages that you're like, I don't know why the fuck I know this, but I know it, when you get those, you start to see like you're capable of doing that. You're capable of utilizing your intuition for things like that.
No, totally. And it reminds me of too, how the chakras are such a beautiful roadmap for all of this. I mean, I'm not going to go through every single one, but even just like the first two, like you think about starting at the root, like grounding in, being present, like not just connected to earth, but connected to your body, which is also like another quality or aspect of earth energy, like your body itself, this material thing. So it's like, if you look at that, what we can learn about the different levels of consciousness that we hold even in our chakra system, it starts with telling us, be embodied, be here, be present, be connected to yourself. And then just moving up just into the second one is, what do you feel? What do you sense being embodied? Like, how are you emoting being embodied? What are you picking up and translating being embodied? Like, we haven't even gotten to the upper ones yet. You know what I mean? So it's,
I know. And the upper ones are really no good without the bottom ones, if you want the complete picture of it. You know, like, why would I go completely like through my crown chakra up to whatever realms there are out there without the messages that I'm getting to keep my physical body alive?
That's a good thing to bring up in this conversation, because a lot of people want to bypass the lower and go straight to this, right? And then that's what causes delusion. That's what causes people to be way out there, like so far gone, disconnected from their material life and like what's real, or, managing their life in a practical way. But it also can take people out of not being able to manage what they're able to access once they become aware of the non-physical. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, there's a lot of cautionary tales that you will hear about from people who are accessing higher realms or accessing other realms or their intuitive knowing, but without having that groundedness and knowingness of how to manage being embodied and in their own authority.
I thought it was funny. I think it was like Tuesday of my training. I was sitting there and I posted this on my Mind Your Chakras Instagram. So if anybody's already seen this, I got this weird craving for fruit. It was the strangest thing. And it immediately was like, it was pineapple and it was cantaloupe. Like, and I mean, I eat fruit, but I'm not like a fruit craving type of person. Yeah. And it was consuming me. And yes, it was hot out, whatever. But I went directly after my training to the store and I got cantaloupe and pineapple, and then they were sampling cherries there. So I was like, all right, these are delicious. I'll take these too. I spent like over $20 on fruit because I went to like one of the most expensive stores, but it was on the way home. So, whatever. I didn't care. I was just like, this is really weird and out of context for me, but we're doing it. And I got home and I was cutting them all up and I laughed to myself because I was like, they were red, orange, and yellow. I'm like, these are all of the earthly chakras. And it was just kind of a funny little thing. And I was thinking about how I'm doing this yoga training, you know, as it's very physical, but like what we talk about and the things that we're doing are very like the top 3 chakras, which are spiritual and all that stuff, you know. So it was kind of funny to me. And I was like, my body was telling me, like, because now I have this respiratory infection too. Like I obviously needed the vitamins, I needed the hydration. So it was just funny how all those things kind of played together.
Yeah. But that you listened, that reminds me of too, listening to our body. But in this last month, I have been eating the hell out of seaweed. Like I never was a seaweed person. So one day, just out of nowhere, it comes out of my mouth. I wasn't even talking about food. I don't even know why it came up, but I was like, red seaweed or something like that. I'm like, red seaweed? Is that even a thing? So of course I Google it and it is a thing. And it's like, it's like the nori. So I don't think it's red in color, but like the nori paper or whatever contains it. So I'm like, okay, well, if this just came out of my mouth out of the blue, then I must need the seaweed. So I went and I bought like the little packs of the dry, like nori sheets that you can eat as a snack. I have purchased so much. It's like the person at the store was like, you could order it online, but it's so, I can't stop. Like I love it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like my body is craving whatever is in the seaweed. My body is just like been craving it. But of course, I have to watch it because too much of anything is problematic. But listen to your body.
Yeah, I've had a lot of opportunities to be in my body with some weird ailments that have stricken me. But that's not where I'm going right now. But it was probably the beginning of last year. I was starting to get sick with something and I didn't know it at the time, but I got this insane craving for black licorice. And I know exactly. Like 96% of the population is like, black licorice is disgusting.
Yeah.
And even to me, I was like, black licorice is disgusting. Like, why do I want I want it all in my face right now.
Yeah.
So I started buying black licorice and was really just enjoying the taste of it. And so it was the strangest thing. And I would try to share it with people and they'd be like, no, that's disgusting. Why are you eating that? I'm like, I don't know. But then I found out like several months later, probably like 6 or 7 months later, I started understanding that licorice root is has all these amazing beneficial properties, but it's very high in antiviral and antibacterial. And when I thought back about the timing of everything, I was like, holy shit. I was like, my body needed that. And it was telling me that, licorice root was going to help me get better from what I was dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting though? Especially, I think it's easy to kind of recognize that it had to have been your body talking to you when it's something we normally wouldn't want.
Yeah.
Like, who wants black licorice? I surely would have never thought to buy seaweed. So it's like, okay, it has to be my body talking because I would never come up with such a thing.
Yeah,
Who would do that to themselves? So that's, I guess we should say, a benefit of being like present and aware in your body is that your body will literally tell you what it needs.
Yes, it absolutely will. And it
Isn't
will
that?
tell you what you don't need,
Mm-hmm.
because this has happened to me now twice that I have notably remembered it. But I've gotten into very highly, when I say this, I mean this respiratory infection I'm dealing
Oh.
with. Um, I so I had a job that I was working on for 2 months that was very, 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 very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And when I bought my car a few years ago, very, very stressful. And I realized immediately after both of those things had ended, my body took in, like, it was just dealing with so much toxicity and stress and all this stuff, and probably me working myself up too much, which is likely. All of these things my body was dealing with, but it held me together for the time that it needed to. And
Yeah.
then as soon as it knew I was done, it's now processing out all of the toxins, which results in me being sick. But at the same time, like, it did what it needed to do for the time period I needed, but also, now that I'm so sick, and the last time I was sick from something like that, I had the time to reflect back on, like, oh, okay, so I was in a situation that made me sick. Why did I get sick? How did I handle it poorly? What could I do better next time? Or what will I not do going forward? So even when
Yeah.
we get sick, our body's signaling us to let us know.
I like that you say that, because it reminds me of even in this kind of like bringing in the mind part too. Again, when we go on these paths and we want to do this work to like wake up or whatever it is our goals may be, there are these periods where we take in a lot of information. Like we just want, we
Mm-hmm.
are hungry for information. We take classes and read books and we want to understand, and everything is so interesting and amazing at first. And then, you like hit a wall and then it feels like absolute hell. Like you go
Yeah.
into that cycle of, and we should probably do a whole episode about that, like what people call the dark night of the soul, or like
Yeah.
where the shit just hits the fan. And it's like, why is this happening? I thought I was doing this whole like light and love, like bubbly
Yeah.
shit. But it's like, yeah, but you can't start moving that energy and allowing yourself to come into like this awareness and being embodied. All of these like subtle changes we start to make a big impact in what we allow to come up, to come out. And
Mm-hmm.
even though it doesn't feel good, like you being sick doesn't feel good. And when we go through that spiritual, like dark shadow side of the whole situation, it doesn't feel good in it, but it's like, fuck, that purge is
Yeah.
doing something so amazing for you. So don't judge yourself if you are sick or you go through like a mental anguish. Like there's probably something that's working itself out.
Yeah. And let's go back to being in body when you're so in your body and sick like that, because here's what I tend to do when I go out of my body when I'm in it is, kind of like yesterday. I was so ill yesterday. I was sitting there and
Yeah.
I'm like, I probably have fucking pneumonia. I'm going to get pneumonia and then I'm going to die. And I was already like thinking about things that I needed to get in order. But part of being in body is trusting your body, and I sometimes I circumvent that sometimes, and I forget to trust my body because I'm not actually being in it, and really sitting with my body and being like, okay, what are the facts here? I'm strong, I'm healthy, I know how to take care of myself. I'm probably not going to get as sick and die like I think I'm going to. So let me get back right with my body. And I do think sometimes my body reacts and it's like, hey, listen, bitch, like we've been with you a long time. We've proven to you that you can overcome some really gnarly things. Like,
Yeah.
still don't trust us. So it keeps giving me the opportunity to learn to trust it also.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of, I'm glad you bring that up, because the first thing that I thought of when you said that was hot toddy. So like my grandma's just Southern, like
Yeah.
if you got
They're
sick,
delicious.
her go-to was like hot toddy, sweat it
They
out. But
do work,
yeah,
man.
it does
They
work.
really do.
But if anything, I'm sure that takes you all the way out of body. But I was thinking sometimes we have to get out of our way to allow our system to work, because we want to control and attach to things. So I think that's a good segue. We should probably talk about why we leave the body. And so
Yes.
just to be clear for people who are very like black and white and, um, not logical, literal. Yes.
Literal.
Thank you.
I tend
For
to be
people who are
literal.
so super literal, when we say leave the body, we're not talking about a physical death. We're talking about not being present, like when we're just out there and disconnected from our life in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
I want to
So
give a example really quickly.
yeah.
Um, I've I've spent my time in therapy just
Mhm.
because I think that it's really good for all of us, and we all have things
Everyone,
that we need to
yeah.
talk about. So there's no shame in it. If you're a little bit ashamed or there's a stigma attached to therapy, I'm giving you permission to just go. It's good for you.
I'm sure someone's going to appreciate that.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
That's my little PSA. But anytime I've ever met a new therapist, they've asked me, one of their technical questions that they always ask are, do you lose time? Like, for instance, are you ever driving and you forget, like, you think you lost time of how you got from one point to another, like you got to a stop sign and you thought, like, I don't remember the last 2 or 3 blocks that I just drove past. And they ask that question a lot because it comes with anxiety. And anxiety, we're always out of our body. If you have anxiety, there's never a time we're really in our body when we're having a state of anxiety or a panic attack or any of that stuff. We're completely out of it. And I think
Yeah.
it's part of the dissonance of the frequency of our physical body and us being out of it. But sorry, I wanted to give a pretty relatable example of what being out of the body is.
No, I think it's a perfect example. And, I think the clearer we can make it for people, the better, because
Yeah.
for, a lot of us, like, yeah, we have been talking about this for a while, but for some people, this is brand new. I mean, to even think about being aware of being in your own body and engage with your life. But there's a lot of things that take us out of body. One of the most common things for people is something traumatic, like trauma. Like if you've
Mm-hmm.
gone through any type of traumatic experience where something was very shocking to the system, something is very scary, uncomfortable, whatever it may have been, people have the tendency to disconnect, and like
Yeah.
you don't feel safe in your body. So of
Yeah.
course
It's a
you
survival
want to
mechanism.
totally.
Leaving
So
the body is a survival mechanism.
yeah, but that's the thing, is like, again, it's not literal. We're not talking about physical death, but it's like we go into like this other state of consciousness that is like disengaged with like what's going on really in our lives, like present time. And there's no judgment around that. I mean, again, it's like our body, it's a natural defense to want to check out and disconnect from whatever that fear or trauma may have been.
Mm-hmm.
But the impact of that is that it also has us disengaged and disconnected from our day to day. So that's one thing that can cause us to be disconnected, but it's not even always that drastic. I mean, sometimes people disconnect because of like relationship issues, and you
Mm-hmm.
shut down because you're sad and like you don't feel like being engaged with it's on and on. Have you had any experiences in your life or seen where people like really stepped out of their awareness of being?
I step out of my awareness of being all the time. It's more so the times where I recognize that I'm stepping back into my being. I'm like, all right, bring it back around, Tiff. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a time where I've seen somebody else, because I think that would be um, a richer experience to share. Um, yep, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking specifically of seeing somebody angry
Mm-hmm.
when they
Oh
have
yeah.
completely left their body. And it's like, so, like I've literally looked into people's eyes before and been like, that person that I know is no longer there. Like there's
Right.
something else that's driving it, and it's anger, it's rage, it's all this other stuff. And then they say things that are completely contradictory to factual events, or even what they would say or what they have said, and then they're contradicting everything. And I'm like, well, that's weird, because that's the opposite of what I know you to be and who you to be, and the actual facts of the matter. So that's one very good example as well. Rage and anger, when somebody is rageful.
You know, it's funny too. I mean, when you think about it, there's a lot of times where we say it, but we don't pay attention to ourselves because we're not fully here and present. But how
Mm-hmm.
many times do you hear people say like, oh, I just don't feel like myself, or oh my God, I like totally spaced, or I feel like I'm not even here. Like how many times we talk about things feeling like surreal or like what? I don't even know. We describe the feeling of not being in body all the time. But again,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of glaze over it and don't pay attention to it. But it
Yeah.
happens to us all the time. And once I started doing energy work, Reiki specifically, that's when I started to recognize when I wasn't fully present, when I wasn't being fully engaged. And I
Yeah.
started having an awareness of when I could be sitting talking to someone and their mouth is moving,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm totally checked out. It reminds me of Ellen, Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
One of her first comedy shows I ever saw was like early 90s, right? And she did this whole skit about how when someone's talking to you and you're totally not paying attention until they say one trigger word that like, has you
Yeah.
interested, and then all of a sudden you snap back and you're like, oh, what was that you said?
Yeah.
That's like how we are a lot in our lives.
Uh-huh.
Like
For
we're
sure.
thinking about what we got to do later. We're not engaged in like what's happening right here, right now. And so anyway, Reiki really helped me to notice that. And I would literally catch myself thinking about the past, the future, anything about what wasn't right now. And I would have to close my eyes, take a breath, and like just kind of breathe myself into being, recognizing what the heck I was actually doing right now.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that, dude, when you notice you're not in your body?
Well, I kind of don't want to share this because it's going to make me sound like a jerk a little bit, but I'll share it. Um, when you were talking about that, about, when we're talking to people and we kind of like tune out, um, I have the opposite problem sometimes. I realize that I'm so focused. And then as soon as somebody starts talking about something that I get bored about or I don't really want to talk about, I like make the choice to check out. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't check out, Tiffany. Like you have to still be present. Like, but I'm like, nope, I want to, I'm going. And like, I punch my card and then I go out.
Yeah.
But otherwise I'm pretty good in conversation. But when do I go out of my body? When do I go out of my body? I go out of my body. Here's how I do it. I put myself in situations that allow me to take me out of my body. Um, so I create distractions a lot of times when I don't want to sit down and be with myself or, focus on something. And one of the major things I've noticed in the course of my life, or at least my adult life, has been with work and career and stuff. It's been really hard for me to take the jump and trust where I know I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be going. And
Yeah.
this year is one of the greatest examples of it because I quit a job in January to follow this path of health and wellness specifically. And I keep on finding myself like teeter off, be like, let me just take this client here. Let me take this client there of doing financial stuff, which is safe and secure and I can depend on it, and I don't have to really forge my own path in it. Whereas what I know I have to do, I need to put my everything into it, and I need to be in my body. I need to be in my passion. I need to be in what I know I'm supposed to be doing, my purpose essentially, but I will take myself out of it sometimes and put myself somewhere else until I get the signals where it's like, that my body tells me, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. So here's a nice upper respiratory infection to give you the time to deal with remembering that.
That's a good one too. Like if you don't pay attention to your body and you don't pay attention to what you need, surely your body will give you a really good smack in the butt to say
Yeah,
like, hey, pay attention, slow it down, sit your butt down.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing when you do look at it from that lens. But the
Um,
thing huh?
Go ahead.
No,
You
go
go.
babe.
No, I cut you off.
No,
You go.
no, please, after you.
Well, I was just going to ask you to give us an example for you.
Of how I leave the body.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I do disengage when it's something, when I can feel that I'm starting to, if something triggers me and I can tell that I may be moving into like a space of upset that is triggered by some form of judgment, I will kind of step back and disengage from the external chatter or whatever it may be, just so that I can have this very internalized dialogue. So it's actually like me disengaging with the external. I'm actually going deeper into my body. Like I'm going deeper into my own awareness. So it's kind of like, but leaving my actual body, what I do, I actually do that intentionally a lot of times in meditation. So I do some meditations where I am trying to disengage again, like from my attachment but it's different than, I am being present, but I'm allowing myself to experience beyond the physical vessel. So yeah, I don't know. When am I ever not in body? I don't know. Whenever I'm not like in my body in the context that we're talking about, it's usually like some random crap. It happens a lot when I'm driving.
Yeah.
When I'm driving, a lot of times, some reason I don't know where my mind goes, but then you're like, oh crap. Like you said in your example, like, oh, how did I get to this light?
That's actually a really good point to bring up too. I think, which would probably help our listeners understand, if you don't understand being out of body, the things that we do most often that we're on autopilot now because we've trained ourselves to do them is probably one of the number one places we're going to find ourselves being out of our body, because we've gotten that process down to such autopilot that we could do it. So then we can allow our minds to go off going somewhere else. Which is the opposite of a mindfulness practice, right? So if we were trying to learn mindfulness, one of the top exercises they recommend is like eating, or when you're doing dishes, like when you're washing the dishes, to really like feel the sponge, watch the soap being put on the sponge, feel the sponge cleaning like each crevice of whatever glass or dish you're cleaning, watching the water on it,
Yeah, that's a really good one. And that just makes me want to clarify too, because now, and I don't even think I thought about this prior to us talking about it, but being in or out of body can be talked about from a lot of different lenses, and like in many different, the context of it matters. So, some people like do astral traveling, or like, there are like ways where people intentionally leave the body, but they're doing it in a way where they're still actively engaged and present. And more of like what we're talking about today anyway, like maybe we'll talk about those things, is us being aware of being in our body, like being present, being grounded into ourselves. Like it comes back to presence in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, just like in a basic sense, because we don't. I mean, a lot of it, we're just not present.
Right. And being in our body, I mean, that brings us back to the root of pretty much what the Mind Body Energy Project is, right? Is self-discovery and really understanding ourselves. So you can't have that self-discovery or really understanding of who or what you are unless you are in your body, unless you are present, and unless you're starting to get those messages from everything that does make you up, your mind, your body, and your energy.
And I think that's like the key, like what you just said, the messages, just like how the conversation started, being present in your body, being present and paying attention to what it's like to be embodied. You do tune into what your body is telling you it needs, or what it's telling you to stop or change. But you also become very aware of your engagement with the world around you and within. So, one of the things when people are doing intuitive development, I always tell them to start with their physical sensory, because if you train yourself to pay attention to your senses, which we don't, because we're so used to them, like you're saying, it's habitual. Right. Am I paying attention to what I'm looking at around the room? No, I'm fucking not. But if I look out the window and I see a tree, I'm like, okay, great, it's a tree. But if I stop to allow myself to be present and engaged, then all of a sudden I move into a space of awe, like, oh my gosh, this tree, it has roots, and look at the leaves, and it regenerates, and oh my God, like this thing is amazing. Now all of a sudden, like I've created this awareness of like just a very simple thing, becoming like this amazing thing. So that's why too, I mean, it changes our whole scope with how we see the world, how we engage with our life. It's just where we start.
I'm laughing because as you're talking about the tree thing, because I've done that. I've had moments where like I look at a flower, I'm like, holy shit. Like imagine, like, first of all, like nature made this beautiful flower and it made this vibrant color and all of its intricacies. And like if you've ever seen a time-lapsed video of a flower opening, like it is mind-blowing, right? So like if you do take a moment to sit and think about the tree, but I started laughing because you know, you always laugh at stoners, for example, who like they smoke weed and then they get all crazy about like you think about the thing. But if you really get into your body, you don't need the drugs.
Right.
You can sit there and be so present with really understanding all of this stuff that
can we do an episode just about that? Like take notes seriously, like really truly, because there's two things you reminded me of. That one time I saw Deepak Chopra was on Andy Cohen's show and he made a joke which was really awkward, but Andy asked him something about,
I feel like he's not a very funny guy.
No. Yeah. So the delivery was off, but he like cracked himself up. But Andy asked him something like maybe if he smoked weed or something. And he was like, oh no, I'm always naturally high. I'm high off of, meditation.
Yeah.
So his delivery was, But I was like, oh my gosh, people probably don't realize like how true that is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, because of the work I do, like they'll ask me like, oh, have you done ayahuasca? And do you try all of these different things? And I'm like, heck no. Just based on the experiences I've had, just with the practice of being in body, allowing yourself to like shift into different aspects of your consciousness, those experiences have been strange enough on their own. Yeah. Like I don't need anything to amplify that.
I agree.
Not that there's any judgment around it. I mean,
No. Do what you gotta do.
Knock yourself out. Do what you gotta do. But
I agree with that because I've had my fair share of weed experiences, and they've got increasingly not as pleasant. Mm-hmm. I joke that the last 2 times I've done an edible, I've wanted to call an ambulance, and it's not. I don't joke. That's actually really the thing.
Really, what happens?
So I'm just like, I don't need the drugs to do it. And I'm like, really, I've had experiences through meditation and other things like Reiki that I don't feel like I need the drugs to get there. Could they take me to a different place? Probably. Do I feel like I need to do it in this lifetime? No. Do I judge other people who are doing it? No. Do what you got to do. But part of it, what I realized too, is because I started having these experiences that it's almost when I got in my body was like, you don't need those things to assist the experience because you know how to do it on your own.
Well, that's one thing. And again, we should do like a whole episode about this, but the same was true for me. Like, yes, I've smoked weed before and tried things like, but it was all prior to doing this work. And once although in all fairness, weed was never my thing, but we won't get into why, but it just never really kind of clicked for me. But anyway, but once I started doing this work, because of how intense and just extraordinary the experiences I've had have been, the idea of introducing something else into the experience kind of scares me. Cause I'm like, if this is happening naturally, using a substance will like put it exactly like that may put you over the edge. But with that, I will say, just for people who are thinking about, and you don't have to listen to me, I mean, what do I know? But people who do want to do like journeys, whether it's with ayahuasca or these things, I think you have to have like a real deep respect for that like plant technology, even in weed, whatever it is. Like you have to have a respect for what these different substances can open you up to, and it's not like, yes, people use these things recreationally, but there's also, I mean, you're literally accessing other aspects of your consciousness. So there's like something to be really respected about that. And to like make sure that there's like a very particular space being held if that's the journey you want to take,
because everything that's inside of us is no joke.
Right.
Like, it's just not this cool thing to see. We are so magnificent the way we're designed. and what we have the capabilities to do. And how do we get there? Being in body and being present and self-discovery, right?
Honey, we make being in body sound so exciting. Like if I weren't, I'd be like, man, they make it sound so much fun.
It is exciting though. So part of this week, I mean, I've always been very intuitive, and the more that I've done this work with Reiki and other energetics and stuff, and my intuition is revealed itself to me more. But this week alone, doing the yoga teacher training, I mean, I was meditating all day and literally doing yoga for almost like 7 hours a day.
Yeah.
And when we do more of these types of things and like work with our body, work the things out that need to be out, and like really get into your body, the better our intuitive capabilities are and stuff. But so many things lined up. I mean, some of the weirdest shit happened this week, you know, like just things I thought of. And there's so many incidences this week that, you know, like I thought of my brother, and I talk to his kids as much as I can when my mom's watching them. But I don't actually really talk to my brother that often. And I just thought of him at one point in one of my yoga classes, and I'm like, I just need to text him and say, I love you. And like 3 hours later, I had to like leave class, get home, shower. I was making my way down to a baseball game. I'm not kidding you. I didn't text him or anything. He sends me a text message that says, hey, love you. And I was like, what the fuck? And like several other things happened like that too. Like I got a message to cancel a subscription that I tried for free for a month, right?
Oh my God.
Canceled it this morning. Like it came to mind this morning. It's up tomorrow. I mean, just things like that were happening all week this week. It's like super little things, but so crazy how they were aligned and just came together. That part of me is just like, I can't wait to see what I'm going to do next with this, you know? And it is exciting. Like once you get into your body and really are present with it. And I was kind of forced to do that this week because I spent 50 hours in a yoga intensive. But because I was forced to do it, well, I wanted to do it. I wasn't forced, but the time period was a lot. It opened up all these things, you know, like opened my eyes to being able to see, like, I didn't have any wine all week, and I didn't eat any shitty food, and I didn't have time to stress or be anxious about other things in my life because it was purely just focused on this one thing, that it opened up the world for me to see the synchronicities. And it was just so cool to be able to see that, you know, and be like, wow, we're so much more capable of these things than we know. But unless we take the time out to build it and, you know, remove the veil to see it happen.
Yeah,
it is exciting to be in body.
It is. And I mean, we again can experience life in a whole new way, which sounds kind of, and it can sound kind of like ominous and like, whoa, like what? Oh, but I mean, it's one of those things you have to experience to really recognize the difference. And
Yeah,
you're the
for
only
sure.
ones that can choose to be in body. But when you said that, the story you were saying, this example came to mind of why it's so important for us to be embodied. Would be like, I just saw a visual of a car like on bricks without the tires. And like, yeah, you can start the car, you can start the engine and like, ooh, okay, great. But how well is it going to function without those tires? Like the grounding aspect of the car, you know what I mean? Like you can have that whole thing in order, the engine is going well, okay, it's great, but it's not going to be shit without the tires. So it's kind of like, that's the same as we could think of being in body, like how much more useful this experience becomes and how much more impactful our experience will be if we allow use of our entire system and let it be like this cohesive working operating system instead of only functioning from, you know, one or the other. I mean, just, it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, being embodied to utilize the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We should make that, yes, being embodied to utilize the whole system. So we have been yapping as we do.
Is our time up already?
It's not, but we only have like 15, 20 minutes left. So there's two things I want us to make sure we don't skip. So how about some recommendations you have for how to be embodied? Like if people recognize like, crap, maybe I'm not paying attention, I'm not aware. Mm-hmm. How do you recommend you get embodied?
Well, the number one thing I think is breath work. like really tuning into your breath. Because obviously that is the life force energy. It's, if we weren't breathing, we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be in our body anymore because the body would be dead. We need it. So that being said, it is one of those habits we go on autopilot and we just breathe because it keeps us alive. We've taught the system to do it so that we manage to be alive. It's not something we use our brain to be like, okay, breathe in, breathe out. However, when it's taken away from us, if you have a respiratory infection, or if you're underwater, or if you're having a panic attack, those are the times where we start to tune into the breath and we take deeper breaths. But that's because it's, it's needed, where it's being restricted somehow. And so then we start to think about it. But what if you sat down and really utilized that whole breath without any limitations, and you sat down for maybe like 2 to 5 minutes and just breathe, like really focused on your breath, pulling it in and seeing like where you feel it in your body, trying to move it to different areas of your body. If you do yoga, I've heard a lot of yoga teachers teach it like breathe into your chest and then exhale it through your chest. And then the next breath, bring it into your belly and breathe through your belly, release it from your belly. And they even do like breathe into your chest, then your belly, release it from your belly, then release it from your chest. So there's tons of different ways that you can play with your breath, but even just oxygenating your body better, but then being more mindful of the connection of, I was able to get all this breath in really well and manage it, and I feel different. It's done something now to your blood, to your hormones, like to everything that's keeping your system running. How does it change it? And then becoming more mindful of that and increasing the breath work that you do.
That's a really good one. That's really, really good. And another way too, the way I would recommend, especially if it's like something new for someone as well, is just the sensory. Like I was saying before, like little things you can, take your shoes off and rub your feet against the floor, but really tune into what it feels like to have your feet rubbing against the floor. Or if you're eating something, close your eyes and completely tune into the taste and texture and what's happening in your mouth. So all of these little things where, or like if you go outside and allow yourself to just tune into the sounds around you, like if a bird is chirping, or really pay attention to what you're looking at, like the tree, the little veins in the leaves, like just pay attention to the sensory that you have and what happens when you bring your entire awareness to one of your senses at a time.
Yeah. So focusing essentially.
Yeah.
We're telling you to be in your body, just focus.
Yeah. Focus. Yeah. It could be. So benefits. What have you noticed? Body. Yeah. What are the benefits of being in your body?
Well, we talked about meditation earlier, and I do the same thing when I meditate. Is I do like to purposefully leave my body while I'm still awake and I can feel my body being here. I do let my mind kind of just go, but that's on purpose. However, before, like when I first really started to get into meditation, it was because my anxiety was so bad, and I was completely out of my body all the time, even though my body was reacting to it. Oh my God, I just totally lost my train of thought. What was the question you asked me? The benefits. Okay. Train's back on track. The benefits of it. So being in body, I had to, because my anxiety was so bad for so long and I didn't understand it. Once I started to understand it and I started meditating, my anxiety at one point, it would feel like my brain was shaking inside my skull. And it was insane. So I started meditating. And once I got into my body and I started to calm my nervous system and really calm down all these things, because I got into my body and was starting to self-soothe it, the shaking started to stop. It did. It just ceased at one point. And I was like, okay, that's because now I'm tuning into me, to what my physical body needs, to what my mental body needs, and I'm bringing it more into alignment, and thereby bringing my energy into alignment. So being in body is a very, very important thing. It's not even just for the benefits. It's just because you need to be in your body if you're going to function with the system.
Yeah. And I think one of the things you said, it really highlights we start to have awareness of how much impact and control we do have in terms of managing how we feel even.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing too. Meditation and Reiki were both recommended to me as a way to deal with anxiety and what I was going through at the time, like after a layoff and all of these things. And once I started to really, practice these different things we've talked about, and I started to realize how quickly I could shift my own feeling just by paying attention to what I was feeling and choosing to change the way I was breathing and choosing to take a breath and let my shoulders fall to release tension in my body. Again, these things may sound simple and even sometimes subtle, but they make such a significant shift in just how we are functioning and how we're feeling. And so it kind of goes back to, for me, what we talked about in our very first episode, even with the mind mapping. Sometimes it's just a matter of, when something is jarring or we notice we're not in body, whatever it may be, making the decision of oh shit, let me pay attention.
Yeah.
Just make up your mind of oh, whoa, let me pay attention, let me be here. And then use one of these tools rub your feet on the ground, focus on your breath, whatever it does to help you reconnect to the present moment. Mm-hmm. And then,
I think another really great benefit, aside from these things that we've already mentioned, is that it gives you greater appreciation. You're going to see the world a totally different way when you're in your body. And my mind just kind of went off on a different route of
that's happening to both of us. What's happening right now?
Well, I was just because I was thinking about people are in their bodies and then they start to shame their bodies. They're not happy with it, but that's a totally different thing.
We should do a whole loving your body episode.
We absolutely should. Write that down. But really, shit. See, I forgot where I was going. Oh, greater appreciation. So as you were talking about the tree, we can start to really appreciate the things that are around us and how magnificent this world is, whereas I think that we're taken out of our bodies a lot of times with media, with news, with all this BS, other people's opinions. They take us out of our body, and then we start to see things through those kind of goggles, whereas if we're in our own body, we recognize how extraordinary our bodies are and how extraordinary the world around us is, and we can start to appreciate it better. And I think a lot of practices people are taught, have gratitude. And even that is seemingly kind of an external thing, because it seems like this exercise you're trying to do, oh, I'm so grateful for the trees. I'm so grateful for the sky. I'm grateful for the things that I have versus the things I don't have. But if you're actually in your body, you're experiencing the gratitude. It's not just an exercise of noticing, but you're experiencing it, and you're really seeing wow, I'm here and present with this tree, with the sky, with the situation, with these friends, with the circumstance I'm in, and you're experiencing it. And if you're not in your body, then you can't experience things if you're not in your body.
No.
Unless you're meditating, you go out of your body. You can experience.
Yeah. I mean, you do. You start to experience and engage in life in a totally new way. But I think that's a really good one. And I did take a note. And maybe we should just say we will have a part 2 to this where we talk about the relationships we have with our body. Because I think that is a huge component.
Huge.
The shame and the upset and all the stuff that we have around body. Again, trauma, whatever it may be. So we'll do a part 2 to relationship to the body. So start thinking about that. The relationship.
We should probably just start an outline for this about being in body is the title of the book, and we're just gonna have an outline of chapters.
No, seriously. It start even that could be too. This week before we have our live event and we meet with each other, take note this week of when you notice you're not aware and present versus what tools you use to help you click into being aware. Take note of what you notice when you allow yourself to be aware and present, but also start paying attention to your relationship with your body, how you view your body, how you may judge your body, the way you talk to the body, if you let yourself sleep, if you feed yourself well, all of these things. Because this is it seems like it'll be a big Like we've just opened a can of worms.
Oh yeah. This is Pandora came a knocking and we
Yeah.
answered. We're like, come on in, Pandora, take your top off. What do you want
Right.
to talk about?
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
would have thought?
this is a big one.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
even realize it was going to explode like this.
you know, and when maybe
Realized it was going to be
like,
a very simple topic of just like feel your feet when you're walking. That's it.
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, like just to make it even bigger for us, of course, like why not? It's making me think of like, wow, this could almost be like an entire uh period that we spend like on things related to the root. And maybe we
Yeah.
can work our way up through the chakra system, like because I mean, mind, body, energy, it's going to bring in all of those components. So
Mm-hmm.
you're welcome, everyone.
Yes,
We've
yes, yes,
opened
yes.
our
And also you're watching this grow as on its own. This is a
real
very
time, right?
organic thing that is unfolding before you
Yeah, that'll
and
be
us.
fun.
It's unfolding
Yes.
before us too.
Right. So we have a lot to talk about this week. And in
Yes, we
fact,
do.
stay tuned because we are going to be together very soon in the same space. So who knows what will come of that. But
Yeah,
whatever it is, obviously we'll share it with you.
we shall.
Yeah. So is there anything coming up for you that you want to share around this today
Any
before
final
we
thoughts?
go? Final thoughts? Final.
I really want to challenge people this week to take the time to be in their bodies and start to notice, like really diligently being mindful, even if you're setting aside like a certain hour of the day where you do it. Maybe not the whole hour, but like your hour of getting ready in the morning, but to prepare yourself for your day, like take that hour to utilize exercise, being in body, and then just notice how it shifts your entire week.
Yeah.
I think we owe it to ourselves to do that, to see like what we're made of and how we can manipulate our energies and our space and our life to a degree that is more beneficial for us.
Totally.
Do you have any final thoughts, Yolanda?
Um, Being embodied, I just think it's such an important part of, I mean, our life experience, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
especially for people who are coming into this work, no matter if it's through like meditation, energy work, whatever leg of practice or study you're coming in from, it's very important to not just focus on the upper or out of body things, but start to understand and recognize not just the benefit, but like the necessity
Oh
of
yeah,
being in your body and being
totally.
engaged and being aware and present. Like it really, it's the foundation. Like it
Right.
literally is the foundation of this life experience. It's the foundation of understanding our system of technology.
Yeah.
And it's the foundation of spiritual practice. I
It's
mean,
why we even have a body.
right.
Our souls needed the vessel to
Yeah.
have the experience, and it is what's actually like assimilating the experience.
Well, it's funny. It reminds me of too. Now that we're saying the foundation of so many spiritual practices, no matter what it is, the foundation for a lot of them is meditation, and part of that practice is tuning into the body, being in the body. Like, yeah, we talk about not being in our body in meditation, but at
Mhm.
the like base level of practice, it's about being aware of being in this thing, like
Mhm.
just being here, being present, being still, all of the terms you've
Yeah.
heard. It all starts with that
And I
awareness.
mean, yoga is my thing, and yoga, we've westernized it to think that it's stretching to get a ballerina's body,
Mhm.
or to do these crazy cool handstands and stuff. But the practical use of the practice of yoga is you do all of these poses, you do all of these exercises, you do all this breath work. That's the only thing that's good for, is so that you can sit in meditation.
Prepare for
It's to
meditation,
prepare
right?
you to sit in meditation.
Yeah.
And sitting, if you've ever tried to sit, I mean, I know people try to sit and quiet their mind to meditate and they say, I can't do it. Well, have you ever just tried to sit? Like just sit down on the floor with your spine up straight. That shit is hard, especially in
Yeah.
the Western culture with the way we've created ergonomic chairs and all this stuff. Like we've taken away the responsibility of our bodies to do it on their own and our minds to get our bodies to do it. Um,
Yeah.
but sitting in meditation is 100% control of your body to be able to sit in it.
Yeah, it reminds me of what you're saying too. We're terrible at wrapping up. We're like still in the can of worms, but
Because there's so much good stuff
I
to talk
know we
about.
have
I
so
don't want
much
to
to talk
stop.
about. It reminds me of too, like how even that simple practice, well, it's not simple at all, but it sounds like it, of meditation and sitting, like how it helps us with being in our discomfort and not being afraid of
Yeah.
like dealing with and working through whatever is uncomfortable for us. But it also gives us like this discipline again of like being, just being, and it helps you to recognize just how capable you are and how much you can work through and how much you can transform and how much you can like manage your shit. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to run away, but you have to have the experience of engagement first. So
Yeah.
anyway, since
Yeah,
it is
cut
going
me
to be
off because
since
I got
it's going to be like a series, like seriously, since we've decided
yeah.
it's going to be a series, we will continue this because God knows we have just opened like you said, Pandora's box. Like
Yep.
who knows how much we'll explore this.
I'm excited.
So share with us your thoughts,
Yes,
your
please.
questions, anything that may be coming up for you around this conversation.
Anything at all. We don't judge.
Anything.
We're just here to
Oh,
experience
no.
it along with you.
No, totally. And it just makes for a better conversation and understanding
Yeah.
and exploration. So you can send us your feedback and questions on our website, MBE
Mhm.
Project, social media, everything at MBE Project. But you also can join us for our live events and, communicate, share real time with us. So,
Yeah.
so many
And
options.
so many options. Yeah, if you're watching this video, we have a podcast that you can tune into.
Rate it.
Yeah, please rate our podcast. That would be great because it'll help us get the word out to many more people. If you're enjoying this and you think that it's useful information, there's somebody else out there that will probably think it's useful and would help them. And the
Yeah.
more we help each other, the better the world is going to be.
Right.
I know it's a lofty goal and it might not happen in our lifetime, but there's people you care about that are going to be here in the future. So we got to
Yeah.
help them out too.
No, totally.
Yeah,
And
and
so
then
go to iTunes. Like you could go to the iTunes app, even on your phone, and put in Mind Body Energy Project, and our podcast you'll see our faces.
mhm.
Yeah, and rate the
And
show, please. If you
yes,
do
please rate
enjoy
the
it,
show.
please rate it because it does help us to. It helps us to grow, and again, get this community like expanding and just to support each other all a bit more. Sorry,
Yeah.
Tiff, what were you going to
No,
say?
it's okay. No, I'm just plugging all of the things so people know how to access us. And then if you go to the mbeproject.com, where is the hub of all of our things, there we have our insiders, which are on the Patreon. And there we have Yolanda and I have been doing weekly confessions. Well, for the week that after we
Weekly
discuss a topic.
confessions.
Yeah. It's called Dear
Yes,
Diary. So
yes.
after we do a topic like this before the live event, her and I go on and give our own individual videos where we share our experience of what's happening.
I like
And
that.
then, yeah,
Confessions.
confessions. Because, we're just human too. We are not on soapboxes preaching to you. We are standing next to you being like, hey, how was that for you? Here's how it's going for me. And what else? Oh, we do a monthly energy thing on our Patreon account, which we did for August, which was super fun.
That
And
was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was. I'm glad it prepared me for the last week and a half because shit got crazy up in those cosmos.
And then too, like we have to say, if you do want to join us for the live events, those are happening real time on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook and look up MBE Project, just one word, like facebook.com/MBE Project, you can like or follow our page and come to our live events. But if you can't come live, the recordings are there, but they're also on our YouTube channel. So like we really are trying to cover the bases. Yeah. And it doesn't matter, your schedule. We're making sure these resources will be available for
and the
your
live events are Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, unless otherwise notated, like last week was.
Yeah, like when one of us is in some sort of training, which is quite common.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I hope that everyone has a beautiful week, tuning into their body, exploring the body, being
Have fun with
present
it.
in your body. And of course, we will put some tips and things on our website to help support you through it.
Yes, absolutely.
So is that
Thank
it?
you. That's it for me. I'm going to cut myself off there.
Okay. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye.